Imagine standing alone, deep within a silent jungle. All around you, the air is thick and alive, humming with unseen life. Leaves drip with morning dew, and somewhere in the distance, the cry of a bird rises and fades. You take a slow breath. The air smells of wet stone, wood smoke, and green earth. You can feel the warmth of the tropical sun pressing softly through the trees. And there, just ahead, a shape begins to emerge from the mist. A staircase, carved from pale limestone. Step by step, it rises toward the canopy. At the top, hidden by vines and centuries, stands a temple. Silent, still, waiting. This place once held thousands of voices. Children laughing in the plazas, merchants calling out beneath the bright sun, priests chanting in the echo of the pyramids. And now, only the forest remembers. The Maya were not just builders of stone. They were architects of time. They mapped the stars with astonishing precision. They carved their histories into stone as though to anchor themselves in eternity. Every dawn, every season, every breath of wind, it all had meaning. Tonight, we'll wander quietly through that lost world, not as tourists or historians, but as silent observers, moving gently through the rhythm of their days. We'll wake with the farmers beneath the rising sun, their hands deep in the earth. We'll follow the life of a ruler whose ambition echoed through jungle kingdom.
The first light of dawn creeps through the forest canopy. A thin mist rises from the ground, curling like smoke around the roots of giant trees. Birds call in long, melodic cries, and the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and crushed leaves. You wake on a woven mat, inside a small, thatched house made of mud and reeds. The walls are cool and dark. Outside, the world is already alive. Insects buzzing, dogs barking, and distant voices calling to one another across the clearing. You are not a priest or noble. You are an ordinary Mayan, a farmer, like most. Your world revolves around maize, the sacred corn. Without it, there is no life. You rise before the sun has fully broken through the mist. There is no rush, no alarm, only the steady rhythm of habit. You step outside, barefoot on the packed clay ground. The soil feels damp beneath your feet. Smoke curls lazily from small fires across the village. Women grind maize on flat stones, their movements slow and practiced. A soft, rhythmic sound that fills the morning air. Breakfast is simple. A small cake of corn, a sip of cacao if you're fortunate. The drink is bitter, thick, and grounding. More a medicine than a treat. Nearby, children chase one another, their laughter mingling with the thrum of insects. Soon, it's time to leave for the fields. The path winds through thick jungle, alive with movement. You carry a wooden digging stick, the koa, balanced over your shoulder. The air grows hotter with each step, heavy with the scent of flowers and wet stone. Above, bright birds flash through the trees. Scarlet macaws, green parrots, blue motmots. A sky of living color. When you reach the milpa, the cornfield, the day's labor begins. The soil is rich but stubborn. You work slowly, planting, clearing, tending, guided by the sun's angle and the call of birds that mark the hours. Each movement feels ancient, rehearsed over generations. Your hands are calloused, your shoulders burn beneath the sun, but you continue in silence. This is not toil, it is duty, the offering every Mayan makes to life itself. Around midday, you rest beneath a ceiba tree. Its trunk is massive, its roots twisting like the arms of a sleeping giant. The air is still, except for the drone of insects. You eat your simple meal. Tortillas, a few beans, perhaps a small piece of fruit. And you listen. The forest seems endless, yet comforting. As afternoon drifts into evening, you return to the village. The path glows amber under the fading light. The stone temples rise ahead, their steps catching the last fire of the setting sun. From somewhere above, the deep sound of a conch shell echoes. The call to ceremony. In the plaza, people gather. You bow your head as priests ascend the pyramid steps. They wear feathered cloaks, and smoke rises from bowls of burning resin. The air smells of copal, sweet, sharp, and ancient. You don't speak. You watch the flames twist against the darkening sky. To the Maya, every moment is sacred. Every act, a thread in the tapestry of time. When the ritual ends, you close your eyes. The rhythm of the day slows, then fades. Tomorrow it will begin again. The same steps, the same soil, the same prayer to the corn. And for the Maya, that constancy was peace. The jungle breathes, and you drift. It began with a single temple rising above the forest, a monument to a ruler whose name was whispered with reverence. Yax Eb Suk, the first known king. Under his descendants, Tikal grew from a cluster of small settlements into a city of immense influence. Picture the morning bustle. The air is thick with smoke from cooking fires. Traders from distant lands unload obsidian blades, bright feathers, and woven cloth. Children play near the edges of the marketplace, while priests pass by in long white garments, their steps deliberate and silent. Every building, every plaza, every carving served a purpose. Tikal was not merely a city. It was a map of the cosmos, built to mirror the heavens above. Each temple stood in harmony with the stars, each stairway aligned with the rising sun. The Maya saw no boundary between earth and sky. The world was one continuous pattern, alive with meaning. In the 6th century, a powerful king came to the throne, Jasa Chang Kawil I. He ruled during a time of renewal, after years of uncertainty and decline. To his people, he was not only a leader, but the living bridge between gods and men. His mornings began before sunrise. Servants prepared ritual incense, the sharp scent of copal filling the chambers of the palace. He would stand upon the highest terrace of the temple, watching as the light broke over the jungle canopy. The first rays of the sun were sacred, a reminder that his power, too, came from the heavens. Under his reign, Tikal entered its golden age. New temples rose one after another, their stairways steep and ceremonial. Stele, tall stone monuments, were carved with his likeness, recording victories, rituals, and alliances. The sound of chisels echoed across the city for years, turning the jungle into a living workshop of devotion. But power never stands alone. Far to the north, the rival city of Calakmul watched and plotted. The Maya world was vast, but its rulers were bound in constant tension. War, trade, and fragile peace, all intertwined. When conflict came, it was swift but ritualized. Armies marched beneath banners of bright feathers. They fought not for land, but for prestige, to capture, to humiliate, to remind the world who held favor with the gods. For decades, Tikal's kings prevailed, and yet, behind the ceremonies and stone masks, the balance was delicate. Even in triumph, the seeds of decline had already been planted.
As centuries passed, the skies changed. Rain became uncertain. The soil, once rich and forgiving, began to dry and crack. Crops failed. The riverbeds thinned. In the plazas, the markets grew quieter. Fewer traders arrived from distant cities. The temples, once alive with music and firelight, began to fall into shadow. People drifted away, not in panic, but in silence, one family at a time. The great workshops emptied. Stone carvers left their tools half-finished. Grass grew between the temple steps. The jungle began to reclaim what had always been its own. Roots crept into walls, pulling apart stones that had stood for centuries. The sound of the forest returned, louder now, wilder. Birds nested in the temples. Rain washed over carvings that no one remained to read. The Maya did not disappear overnight. They adapted, moved, rebuilt elsewhere. But Tikal went to sleep. Its gods grew silent. Its fires went out, and its plazas filled with leaves.
Today, the city still stands, not as ruins, but as memory. If you walk among its temples now, you will hear nothing but wind and birdsong. But listen closely, and you may sense what once was. The steps are smooth from countless feet. The walls still hold the faint carvings of kings and serpents. In the right light, the red pigments once used to paint them still glimmer faintly, ghost colors of devotion. Archaeologists have uncovered tombs filled with jade, shells, and obsidian buried beneath the temples. Each find is a whisper, a reminder of the lives that passed quietly beneath the weight of eternity. Some believe Tikal's decline was caused by drought. Others say it was politics, or overpopulation, or perhaps the exhaustion of the very soil that once fed it. But the truth may be simpler. Even the most powerful cities are subject to the same rhythm that guides all things: growth, balance, and decay. As the forest breathes around it, Tikal endures in silence. A monument not to power, but to impermanence. The jungle hums softly again. The sun dips low, turning the temples to silhouettes of gold and shadow. You watch the last light fade, the sky deepening to indigo. And somewhere, beneath layers of earth and time, the people of Tikal still sleep, their story carved into the stone, waiting for the world to listen. You take one last look at the skyline of temples, now dark against the horizon. The air is still warm, the forest calm. In this quiet, it's easy to forget that centuries have passed. It feels as though the city is only resting. The night settles again over the jungle. The air grows cooler, filled with the sounds of cicadas and distant frogs calling in rhythm. Above, the sky opens, clear, infinite, and heavy with stars. You stand at the edge of an ancient observatory. It's not what you might expect, not a dome or a tower of glass, but a round stone structure open to the heavens. The stairs are smooth from centuries of footsteps. At the top, the air feels ancient, as if time itself has thinned here. The Maya watched this same sky long before telescopes or clocks. To them, the stars were not distant lights. They were companions, storytellers. The movements of Venus, the moon, the sun, all were messages to be read, patterns to be understood. And so they built their world around those celestial rhythms. Every temple, every festival, every planting and harvest, all guided by the cycles of the sky. Their calendars were not simply tools to count days. They were maps of the universe itself. The Mayan world ran on two intertwined calendars, two great wheels turning together. The first was the Hab, the solar calendar of the earth. It measured the seasons, the flow of sun and rain, the rhythm of crops and ceremony. 365 days, like ours, divided into months that marked the work of life. The second was the Zolkin, the sacred calendar, 260 days long, not tied to the sun, but to spiritual cycles, human birth, and divine patterns. Each day carried its own meaning, its own personality. To be born on a certain day was to inherit the traits of that moment: a quiet weaver's patience, a hunter's courage, or a priest's insight. Together, these two calendars formed a cycle called the calendar round, lasting 52 years. When the wheels aligned again, entire generations would pass. It was said that every 52 years the world was renewed. Fires were extinguished and rekindled, symbolizing the fragile continuity of existence. Imagine the calm devotion it took to track this. Night after night, year after year, priests stood in silence upon temple tops, marking each movement of Venus or the sun's shadow as it crossed a carved stair. They wrote not with ink, but with light and time. But even this was not enough. The Maya looked beyond years and seasons, into ages. For this, they created what is known as the long count, a timeline that stretched far beyond memory, counting the days since the creation of the current world. Their writing system could record time with astonishing precision, not just years, but days, cycles, and even the moments within cycles. They believed that time did not simply move forward, it turned upon itself, endlessly, repeating like the motion of the stars. To a modern mind, It's easy to imagine this as superstition, but to the Maya, it was mathematics in motion, the poetry of the cosmos rendered in numbers and glyphs. Each inscription carved into stone was an act of devotion, a promise to remember. When you look at those carvings today, you can still see the care. Each mark precise, each curve deliberate. The sound of stone against stone must have echoed softly through the jungle for centuries. A heartbeat of human hands recording eternity.
You may remember how the Mayan calendar was once said to predict the end of the world, the year 2012. But that was never truly their message. To the Maya, the end of one cycle was not destruction. It was renewal. The close of an age, the dawn of another. A pause in the breathing of time before it exhaled again. Imagine their sense of patience, to see centuries as chapters, not finalities. In a world that often rushes forward, they believed in the sacred rhythm of return, that what fades will rise again, that nothing truly ends. Perhaps that's why their cities still whisper from beneath the soil, because to them, silence was not death. It was simply the space between one cycle and the next.
It's late now. You sit upon the stone steps of an ancient temple, your back against the cool rock. The stars shimmer above, clear and sharp in the tropical air. Venus glows bright near the horizon, the same planet the Maya once called the Great Star. You can almost imagine them still here, a group of skywatchers wrapped in woven cloaks, faces lifted upward, their voices low and measured. They note the position of the stars, mark it in bark paper codices with gentle brushes of black and red. Their breath forms faint clouds in the night air. The world around them is quiet, but their minds are vast, moving between earth and cosmos. The priest beside them whispers an old phrase, "Time is a circle, and the circle never ends." The firelight flickers, painting shadows upon carved walls. The sounds of the jungle fade until all that remains is the hum of the universe, deep, soft, eternal. You feel the same quiet awe they must have felt, the realization that every star above has burned for thousands of years and will burn for thousands more. That our own lives, brief and fragile, are but a spark in that endless rotation. And yet, the Maya understood this not as tragedy, but as peace. For them, eternity was not an unreachable dream. It was here, in the rhythm of every sunrise, every heartbeat, every turning of the calendar. The night deepens. The constellations shift slowly like the hands of a great clock. You close your eyes and listen to the quiet breath of the forest, to the ancient pulse of the stars, to the endless circle of time itself. And somewhere, within that stillness, the Maya are still watching the heavens, marking, measuring, and remembering. The jungle is quiet now, resting beneath the pale light of dawn. A faint mist lingers above the temple courtyards, drifting slowly over the carved stones and empty plazas of a once living city. Somewhere in the distance, a conch shell sounds, low, hollow, and echoing through the trees. It is a call not to battle, but to balance. For this is the hour of the priest, when the line between the world of men and the world of gods becomes thin, like smoke rising through the still air. You stand before the temple steps, their faces worn smooth by centuries of devotion, and you can almost see them, robed figures moving in calm procession, each step measured, each breath deliberate. The scent of burning copal fills the air, sweet and resinous, curling into white spirals that rise toward the awakening sky. The priests of the Maya were not rulers, yet their power was immense. They were the interpreters of time, the keepers of order, the human link between stars and soil. In a civilization built upon cycles of birth, harvest, rain, and sun, their task was not only to pray, but to listen to the rhythm of the cosmos, to the hidden pattern behind every storm and drought. Their mornings began before sunrise. Within the dim stone chambers of the temples, they bathed in cold water drawn from sacred wells, washing away the dust of sleep to make themselves pure for the new day. The sound of dripping echoed in the stillness as they lit small lamps of oil. They fasted often, believing that clarity came not from indulgence, but from restraint. As light touched the horizon, they faced east and began their first chants. Long, low tones that rose and fell like waves. Their language was ancient and rhythmic, carrying meaning not only in words, but in the spaces between them. To listen to such a chant was to hear the pulse of the earth itself. They believed every utterance mattered. Every word was a thread in the great weaving of creation. To speak carelessly was to disturb the harmony of the world. When the sun finally climbed above the treetops, they emerged into the open courtyards, their garments of white or crimson moving softly in the humid air. Some carried offerings, jade beads, cacao beans, woven cloth, small bowls of maize. Gifts symbolic of balance and gratitude. The temples around them were alive with quiet purpose. Apprentices preparing pigments, scribes painting glyphs upon bark paper books, attendants tending to the fires that burned day and night. From the highest terrace, the senior priest watched the shadow of the temple stair shift with the sun's ascent. That shadow was their clock, their instrument for understanding the eternal. Each angle, each length was noted in careful silence. It was through such observation that the Maya priests charted the heavens, predicting eclipses, solstices, and the turn of seasons with astonishing accuracy. They did not see astronomy as science apart from faith. To them, the two were the same. The study of stars was an act of devotion. Throughout the day, they moved between ritual and reflection. At times, they sat in still meditation, eyes half closed, surrounded by the cool scent of incense. At others, they read from folded codices filled with hieroglyphs, elegant lines of ink drawn by steady hands centuries before. The pages crackled softly as they turned, revealing the songs of time itself. In the afternoons, the temples grew hot, and the air shimmered above the stone floors. The city beyond the walls murmured faintly. Farmers at work, merchants calling out, children laughing near the wells. Yet inside these sanctuaries, time felt suspended. The priests were caretakers not only of ritual, but of memory. It was said that within their scrolls lay the history of kings and gods alike, intertwined so deeply that even they could not always tell where the human story ended and the divine began. At sunset, the light turned golden and thick. The city seemed to exhale as the heat softened and the shadows lengthened. Once more the conch sounded, this time from the highest tower. The people gathered in the plaza below, faces lifted toward the glowing temples. The priests began their slow ascent, carrying torches that flickered against the stone. The glow of fire met the last rays of daylight, mingling in a soft orange haze. They reached the summit and knelt, aligning their bodies with the setting sun. The world fell silent, save for the crackle of flame and the faint rustle of leaves. Then, in one long, resonant tone, the evening prayer began. Not shouted, but breathed. A sound that seemed to vibrate within the stones themselves. As darkness fell, the stars returned. Bright, unblinking, eternal. The priests watched them patiently, marking each one's rise and fall upon the horizon. Some believed the gods themselves lived among those constellations, watching the world below through the veil of night. They traced the path of Venus, the great morning star, with reverence. It was the same light that had guided their ancestors, the same star that would guide generations yet unborn. Time, they knew, was not a straight path, but a circle, forever folding upon itself. To honor that truth was their sacred duty, and as the final rituals ended, they descended once more into the quiet chambers below. The fires dimmed, the city hushed, and only the low rhythm of drums remained. A heartbeat in the distance, slow and steady. The priests removed their headdresses, placed their instruments aside, and sat in contemplation. To serve the gods was not to command power, but to surrender to order. To live in harmony with a world that never truly slept. Outside, the jungle whispered, its leaves shifting in the night breeze. The scent of copal still lingered, faint but persistent, like memory itself. You close your eyes now, imagining that stillness. The cool stone beneath your feet, the echo of chanting that seems to pulse from somewhere deep within the earth. The stars above are endless, the jungle alive, yet peaceful. You breathe slowly, feeling the quiet gravity of that world, a place where time was sacred and silence was prayer. And as you drift deeper into that rhythm, you realize that even across 1,000 years, their faith still hums softly beneath the soil. A calm, steady heartbeat beneath the endless turning of the sky. And now, the journey comes to its quiet end. The fires have burned low. The temples of Tikal, of Palenque, of Copan, they all sleep once more beneath their shroud of green. The jungle reclaims them, as it always has. Roots twist around stone. Leaves fall like gentle rain. The songs of frogs and night birds weave through the darkness, just as they did 1,000 years ago. You stand at the edge of what was once a great plaza. The moonlight spills across the carved steps, soft and silver, turning every surface smooth. There are no voices here now, no chants, no footsteps. And yet, it doesn't feel empty. The silence is full of memory, of patience, of something still alive beneath the soil. The Maya never truly vanished. Their descendants walk the same lands today, planting maize, weaving cloth, whispering prayers that echo those of their ancestors. The same words still linger in the air. Gratitude for the rain, reverence for the stars, respect for the turning of time. Empires may fade, but rhythm endures. As you breathe, imagine the weight of the humid air, the scent of copal and green leaves, the soft rustle of palm fronds swaying overhead. In this moment, the past and the present are the same. The same sky stretches above you. The same stars glimmer. Time, like the Maya believed, is not a straight road but a circle. And within that circle, everything returns. Peace, silence, and the slow heartbeat of the earth itself. You turn your gaze upward one last time. The constellations shimmer, unhurried and eternal. Somewhere, perhaps in another age, a priest watches them too, his hand steady, his mind still, his heart attuned to the quiet music of the world. The jungle breathes deeply, and so do you. The sounds grow distant now. A low wind, the faint cry of a night bird, the whisper of leaves against stone. Each breath slows, softer, lighter, until the boundary between waking and dreaming fades away. And as the night deepens, you rest in the same stillness that once cradled an empire. A silence, vast and gentle, older than history, and peaceful as sleep.